Presenting, oh, so many puzzles. Any respectable scientific study requires a system which categorizes the evidence in a clear manner. Investigators can then look at other evidence to test it is relevant to their subject or something that resembles their findings by chance. Geologists have stratified epochs, particle physicists have quantum particles, biologists have Linnaeus taxonomic system, chemists have the periodic table of the elements. Until now, there has been no classification system to identify hidden clues in the Shakespeare Authorship Question. I have developed a classification system for the authorship game puzzles. But first we need to recall the background of the game. Everybody had a number. As Dr. John Dee said, may we be led upward by degrees, so informing our rude imagination towards the conceiving of numbers absolutely, that at length we may be able to find the number of our own name, gloriously exemplified and registered in the Book of the Trinity, most blessed and eternal. People had a number because the positions of the letters in the alphabet corresponded to their numbers. It's part of the great chain of being in which everything is connected to everything else. For me, the Rosetta Stone for puzzles was the 23-letter Latin alphabet Gematria values. The number one principle for these is that anomalies and enigmas are clues something is going on beneath the surface of the page, and you look for things that appear out of place or otherwise wrong. I have developed 6 questions to ask when looking at anomalies and enigmas. First, do they look like puzzles? Are they situated somewhere on the page that they kind of stand out? Is there a lack of symmetry in the letters or numbers that you see? What about the use of upper and lowercase letters or different size letters? These are all signals that perhaps what you're looking at has puzzles in them. Second question is, are they easy to solve? If you have to use more than just a couple of steps or 3 or 4 steps that have to jump from one type of procedure or process to another, chances are you may not have found a puzzle. Chances are you may have imposed upon this text something of your own imagining. Do you have to jump from page to page? Well, again, if you do, they're not easy to solve. Do you have to go from one cipher or code system to another in order to figure it out? Again, if you have to, it's not a puzzle. Number 3, do they use well-known or universally known codes? What's the point of putting puzzles into a page if you don't know whether the people who are reading your text will have the same access to the codes and ciphers and puzzle-solving tools that you have? They have to be well-known or universally known codes. Question 4, are the results consistent with one another? Can you replicate the results? If you can replicate the results from one text to another, from one page to another, the possibility is very great that you have discovered a puzzle. Question 5, do they lead to one logical conclusion? Just as Rubik's Cubes have only one solution, so do these puzzles. If you can assume more than one conclusion from these puzzles, or come to this realization that perhaps there are other solutions, then you don't have a puzzle. Finally, can we find more examples in the author's texts or in those written by other writers? This is the hallmark of replicability. If these are replicable, if they follow all the previous 5 points, chances are very good you have discovered puzzles. Puzzle creators use the following in order to create their little enigmas. Typesetting tricks, as you can see in the title page to Ben Jonson's poem from the first folio. Spelling differences, spelling errors, numbering errors, errors of fact, errors of omission, allegorical images such as the engraving in the first folio, and allegorical figures which allude to the author. We follow three general rules. We subtract smaller numbers from larger numbers. After all, we want a positive result, don't we? Items can be subtracted from a group if they have some difference. For example, italic uppercase letter values from Roman uppercase letter values. Items in brackets can be optional or something to subtract or even add to a sum. There are three key features of puzzles. The first, and it relates to one of the questions, at no time will creators lead readers astray. There will be one solution. 2. Hints how to find and solve them will be nearby, often using repetition, as in the Tria Symptomnia page or principle. Now, to find them is about where they are located. Again, typesetting tricks. Look for them. Number 3, they will be easy to solve. Everything revolves around being easy. These simple Gematria codes were widely known by literate people, and they were not secret. The 23-letter Latin alphabet Gematria values and the Latin alphabet repeating count, which I call the LARC, which merely cycles the Gematria values through higher and higher numbers. Clear hints that the 23-letter Latin alphabet Gematria values are to be used in sums are indicated by how letters are used. First, the compositors will sometimes use lowercase u's for the letter V despite having access to lowercase v's. Here we see it in the dedication to the reader from the first folio. Line 3 has graver spelled with a U, and lower down we have was spelled with 2 V's. Or we could say they use lowercase u's as both vowels and consonants, often close together. Right in the middle of the dedication to the reader, we have but have, both words spelled with lowercase u's. The compositors will use double V in addition to W in nearby words. Here we see the word well spelled with the W, and was ever writ features 4 letter V's. Hints that they are to be used in sums or some sort of addition are when the compositors will mix upper and lowercase letters where you would expect to see only one form of letter. Here in the dedication to the reader, line 3 features an uppercase W to begin the word wherein. The line directly below it, with, has a lowercase w. This appears to be a signal that you are to use Gematria sums, or at least to count uppercase letters. Compositors will mix upper and lowercase letters in lines from titles or just lines in general. Here we see two very asymmetrical, very unusually set lines from the title for the poem by Ben Jonson in the front matter for the first folio. The first line has only one uppercase T to begin it, and everything else are lowercase letters. Whereas line 2, we have the uppercase T for the first word, followed by 2 lowercase letters, and then author is spelled all in uppercase letters. Another clue is that the compositors will place words in brackets where they are not needed, such as in paragraph 2 from the letter to the great variety of readers from the front matter of the first folio. The word before stands out like a sore thumb. The reason for the puzzles are as follows. Unlike other clues that use ciphers or codes, the aim was to reveal a hidden writer without giving everything away, not to conceal him. This confuses doubters like Baconians who seem to misunderstand these puzzles. Some have said that these are difficult or that I have forced my results. The truth of the matter is that you cannot force results if you are just looking at what they have put on the text. Uppercase letters, misaligned words, all these things are there for people to see on the page. That is why I constantly use facsimiles when I can. After I had discovered many first folio puzzles, I devised this classification system based on my own findings and those of other researchers. And please note, I did not plan for the list to have 17 puzzles. They can be broadly sorted into two groups, number puzzles and letter puzzles. The letter puzzles are in the orange boxes. Word acrostics, anagrams, charades, 4O and 4T puzzles, puns, and rebuses. I include puns there because, well, they're fun and sometimes they identify the writer, sometimes they don't. And these number puzzles are based on numbers rather. We have number acrostics, adding ladders, digit sum numbers or groups, Gematria sum puzzles, item counts, location of the alias, numbergrams, the 17 enigma, 1740 allusions, and uppercase letter counts. The 17 enigma could be classified as a mega puzzle since 7 puzzles solve to the number. These 8 puzzles may be exclusive to the Shakespeare Authorship Question. Adding ladders, digit sum numbers, 4O and 4T puzzles, item counts, location of the alias, 17 enigmas, and 1740s. I have yet to find out whether or not other anonymous writers or pseudonymous writers have any of these puzzles. Adding ladders seem to be unique to the first folio. Viewers are directed to solving some first folio enigmas, an earlier video of mine. I hope you can get through the hour-long plus video to get to the end because it will be worth it. As you can see, we get 4 permutations of 3 numbers in the first 3 titles in the history section on the right column of the table of contents. That's in the left-hand box. And in the right-hand box, we have in red letters adding ladders for several plays in the comedies and in the tragedies. Digit sum numbers or groups are simple. Digit sum numbers are numbers whose digits add up to our target number. Numbers 89, 98, 179, 197, and 287 are the most commonly seen numbers in these puzzles. And if you have 2-page spreads, or as we've seen, sonnet spreads for 17 and 18, 35, 36, 44, 45, or if a play starts on page 80 as Timon of Athens does, or 152 as Hamlet does in the first folio. These are digit sum groups. All these digits add up to 17. There are 6 subcategories of 4O puzzles that I have discovered. Here's a little chart describing them. Category 1 is the easiest to spot. Simply speaking, it is 4 uppercase O's along the left-hand margin of a text. They will be surrounded by different letters in uppercase letters as well. In other words, there will be different uppercase letters above and below this group. This makes the 4 O's stick out and identifies the author and says, "Yoo-hoo, I'm here." This is from Romeo and Juliet, Act 5, Scene 5, the tragedies, page 73 in the first folio. Category 2 is the second easiest to spot. Essentially what it does is it shifts the letter O, 1 letter in, from the left-hand margin. This comes from Henry VIII, Act 2, Scene 1, the history section, page 212, in the top right column from the first folio. We have the words nor, directly below that is for, directly below that is for, and directly below that is nor. How much more obvious can you get that you have to look at this as a type of puzzle? We have the words for, 2 word fors, bracketed by nor. It's weird, it's strange, and it sticks out, and I believe it's a category 2 4O puzzle. Category 3 is the third easiest to spot, and I first saw this in one of Alexander Woe's videos. Essentially what it is that we have 4 letter O's directly above each other in 2 separate words. The letters have to be touching on subsequent lines, as in Love's Labour's Lost, Act 5, Scene 1, page 135 in the first folio in the comedy section. Loose and lose are both above each other. Category 4 is next, and it depends on misspelled words. The example is so not one son with 2 O's in not. I've invented that one, but as you can see from the first part of Henry IV, Act 4, Scene 1, the history is page 65 in the first folio. We have womanhood spelled with 2 O's in woman, followed by womanhood spelled properly with 1 O. Both of the words are spoken by Falstaff or phrases, which means that the compositor is letting you know that something is going on, and that something is he's telling you, hello, I'm here, I've got 4 O's to show you. And it's no accident that the 4 O's are preceded by double V. More clues in the authorship game. Category 4A is sometimes pointed out for us, as in Act 1, Scene 3 of The Merchant of Venice, which is in the comedy section, page 163 of the first folio. As we see it, Bassanio and Shylock are speaking. We count the no's that Shylock is speaking, the O's in no's, not the ho, because it's different. Remember, we're counting things that are similar, and these 4 O's in no, 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 no emphasize themselves, and of course, right above it is a line that's practically blank. Therefore, it's a hint there's a puzzle. I have found there is an equal number of 4 T puzzle types. Type 1 is the easiest to see. As you can see in the first quarter of Edward III, published in 1596. Not coincidentally, it's on page 17, or leaf 17, so far as I can tell. Edward III has now been acknowledged as one of the previously unknown plays of Shakespeare. As you can see, the 4 italic uppercase T's are what you would see in a type 1 puzzle. And I say that this is a type 1 puzzle because these are italic uppercase T's, whereas just above it, the uppercase T's are in Roman type. That's a signal that something is up, and let's see the 4 T's come. Type 2 is the next easiest to see, as in page 73 for Romeo and Juliet, Act 5, Scene 5. See my video Days and Woes for more on this page. As you can see, 4, the word for, is on the left-hand margin, followed by a word beginning with the lowercase t. It also appears in line 14 of Sonnet 27, where he's written for thee. And again on line 13 in Sonnet 89, here we have a beautiful little hidden 1740 illusion. 8 plus 9 is 17, which is the number of the sonnets. And of course, the type 2 4T puzzle is on line 13. Type 3A is the next easiest, and what it does is it actually puts an uppercase, a word beginning with the uppercase F, and an O and an R directly above an uppercase T, or a word beginning with uppercase T. It's difficult to explain, but you can see it. The pun is that you take the first three letters of the top line or top word and attach it to the T down below. Type 3B is problematic since it reads bottom to top. Sonnets 34, lines 6 and 7 has it. The word to is directly above the word for. But it also gives us another interesting example of a 3A puzzle. Lines 6 to 8 in Sonnet 34, they begin with the words to, for, and that in sequence. So the uppercase T in to connects to the for in for, of course. And then the three letters of for connects to the uppercase T in that. Interestingly, that gives us two 40s in a sonnet whose digits or whose actual number is 34, which is double our target number of 17. Type 4 is another difficult class of 4T puzzle, and it's closest to a Type 3 4O puzzle. Here we see a grouping in Sonnet 122 from lines 12 to 14, and see my video tables within his brain for more on this sonnet. We have a grouping of 4 letter T's in lines 12, 13, and 14. The word that, adjunct, to, and forget all feature a cluster of 4 lowercase t's. There may be another type 4 clue in lines 12 and 13 alone. That is above adjunct and to. But this is perhaps the easiest type 4O puzzle of them all, or type 4 puzzle of them all. It's the inscription in the memorial plaque in Stratford-upon-Avon to Shakespeare. We see writ and wit both have extra T's, and they form a beautiful little cluster, very easily seen, of 4 T's, two right above the other on the last 2 lines of the English inscription. You can't miss it. Line 12 hides a difficult to miss type 5 clue with to trust those. We have alliteration, but you also have 4 T's within it. Trust those tables is another difficult to miss type 5 clue. And is this another one? Those tables that? Remember, we're thinking about the triascent omnia principle here, and we have 3 groupings of 4 T's within these words. As you can see, types 3 to 5 are the most difficult to spot, and I'm a bit hesitant to talk about group 4 or even 5 puzzles because they're fairly weak, but there's no mistaking type 1 and 2 puzzles. Gematria sum puzzles are of 2 basic types. Type 1 is simple addition, where you add Gematria values of uppercase letters to get a multiple of our target number. Type 2 involves some subtraction or sometimes even addition, where you're subtracting items from a sum of uppercase letter Gematria values. You can run either horizontally or vertically. Here's an example of a type 1 Gematria puzzle running horizontally. This is the title to Ben Jonson's ode in the first folio, and what you do is you add the Gematria values of all the uppercase letters on line 2. Here's an example of a vertical / horizontal type 2 puzzle from the actors list from the second part of Henry IV, page 104 in the history section from the first folio. It is located in this block of text. The Gematria sum of these uppercase letters going down the left-hand column, the P, F, B, P, P, and P. Once again, we've got an example of triascent omnia here with pisto, pedo, and page, is 68. That is a beautiful example of a horizontal type 1 puzzle too, but strangely enough, we can subtract the Gematria values of these letters to get 51. Well, gee, again, it's another type 1 puzzle combined with a type 2 Gematria puzzle. The uppercase I and H have a combined Gematria value of 17. The bracket between these groups of letters is a visual clue you are to do something with the sums. Our next puzzle is a type. Type is a simple item count. Here's a chart listing the 287 enigmas. That's going to be in another video. To the reader has 287 letters on the page. The lowercase w in line 4 and the extra letters on line 8. Line 8 has extra V's to substitute as W's. Once again, it's a sign that there's a puzzle there. And if you count all the letters on this page, you get 287. It's also a digit sum number. 2 plus 8 is 10, plus 7 is 17. I have a video planned which will go into each one of these 287 counts. Perhaps the easiest clues of all are these: location of the alias, in which the compositor or the writer places the name at a significant numbered position. The best example of the 17 enigma I can find that is of this type is page 2 of the Epistle Dedicatory from the first folio. There are 16 uppercase letters from the top of the page, where the header is, to the name, which means that the S in Shakespeare, the first S in Shakespeare, is the 17th uppercase letter. That name is located on the 17th line from the bottom of the paragraph. The name is the 17th word after the colon in sentence 6. There are 16 words beginning with uppercase letters between our Shakespeare on the top of the paragraph and the servant Shakespeare near the bottom. And the name for the servant Shakespeare is the 17th word in the last sentence. Nothing could be simpler, nothing could be plainer than this. As another example of the Lota puzzle, what number stanza has the name Shakespeare in it from A Mournful Ditty? I explain more about this in the video, A Mournful Ditty. Numbergrams are more easy clues you can find. They are an adding puzzle that uses numbers, number homophones, and or spelled numbers to give us the clue. In this excerpt from the second part of Henry VI, Act 2, Scene 1, beginning with "Dazzle mine eyes, or do I see 3 suns, 2, you love the breeder better than the male," you just add the English numbers. You do the same in Sonnet 6 for these lines. Or 10 times happier be it 10 for 1, 10 times thyself were happier than thou art, if 10 of thine 10 times refigured thee. Add up the English numbers and you get the clue. In William Bass's poem, A Remembrance of Some English Poet, he does exactly the same thing. In lines 4, 5, and 6, we add the English numbers in exactly the same way as we add the English numbers in Sonnet 6. Once again, this is a puzzle because it's replicable and it appears in different documents by different writers. Lastly, we have uppercase letter counts. These may be the weakest puzzles of them all because a lot of these might be the result of chance. However, the first part of Henry IV, page 65, has way too many coincidences for this category of puzzle to not exist. Essentially, they're putting uppercase letters, significant uppercase letters, at numbered positions somewhere along the text. And you can also see the Merry Wives of Windsor, page 50, which is misnumbered page 58. Merchant of Venice, page 163, Henry V, page 75, third part of Henry VI, page 152 and 156, Titus Andronicus, page 46 rather, Julius Caesar, page 122, and Hamlet, page 153 in their respective sections all have significant uppercase letters located at precisely where you would find clues. In the left-hand column on this page, for example, the 17th uppercase letter is an uppercase W, 2 V's, another sign of De Vere. Line 26, it has the 40th uppercase letter. The uppercase letter is L for Lord. The real writer was an earl. He would have been addressed as Lord. Line 33, the 33rd letter in that line is an uppercase I. 33 is the most sacred number in Christianity because it was the date of which Christ allegedly died, and it's 11 times the most sacred number for the Trinity. The 66 uppercase letter is another uppercase I, which is strangely double what the 33rd letter is, the number. 66 is of course double 33. The 80th uppercase letter in the left-hand column is again 2 V's, or a big W. On the right-hand column, the 17th uppercase letter is an uppercase I, followed by a speech by Falstaff in which the 17th word is an uppercase O. Line 17 in page 65, the uppercase italic letters have a Gematria sum of 17. The 41st uppercase letter in the right-hand column is again an uppercase L in Lord. Essentially, it's sequential from the 40th uppercase letter in the left-hand column, which is also an uppercase L for Lord. But it is also the 17th word in the speech. Finally, the 80th uppercase letter, which is double one of De Vere's code numbers of 40, is self. Double letter, double self, double number. Not every puzzle is as strong as Lota, for example, but they appear in large enough numbers that they can be said to exist. This chart shows the most commonly seen numbers in the authorship game. Note that multiples of the base numbers 17 and 20 are also common, with the preponderance of the former number. In other words, there are more multiples of 17 shown than multiples of number 20. Number 17 is obviously a succession number. Number 20 is the Latin alphabet Gematria value of the letter V. 40 is a homophone for 4D and twice 20. 43 has the Latin alphabet repeating count value of VV for his family motto Vero Nihil Varius. 57 is the sum of 17 plus 40. 66 has a Latin alphabet repeating count value of VVV for his surname and his family motto. 73 has a Latin alphabet repeating count value of 4D, 4T, as in the number. And then finally, 88 has a Latin alphabet repeating count value of 4T, 4 T's or 40. If these would be false, if these would be faked, you would expect them to be multiples of numbers, not prime numbers. And yet here we have 4 values are prime numbers that correspond to things that are relatable to Edward de Vere's life. These 3 things, plus the Latin alphabet repeating count, form a system for creating authorship puzzles. We have the numbers that we need, the 23-letter Latin alphabet Gematria values, and the most common puzzles that are in the authorship game. The proof that these exist is based on a preponderance of the evidence. Here are some definitions. I'm just going to read one from Black's Law Dictionary. An evidence presented, that is, preponderance of the evidence, is an evidence presented that provides more convincement than the pre-existing evidence presented in court. And one website defines circumstantial evidence as evidence that, if found to be true, proves a fact from which an inference of the existence of another fact may be drawn. A factual inference is a deduction that may logically and reasonably be drawn from one or more facts established by the evidence. With the number of these puzzles repeating themselves over and over again, we can infer from that they are all referring to the same man. The puzzles are also based on clear and convincing evidence. Garton law defines it with 3 different ways. Clear and convincing evidence differs from the greater weight of the evidence in that it is more compelling and persuasive. Clear and convincing evidence is evidence that is precise, explicit, lacking in confusion, and of such weight that it produces a firm belief or conviction without hesitation about the matter in issue. It is evidence free of substantial doubts or inconsistencies, and this is the main reason why I say these puzzles have to be consistent with each other. They also define it as evidence to be of such weight that it produces in the mind of the trier of fact a firm belief or conviction without hesitancy as to the truth of the allegations sought to be established. To drive matters home even more, here are some more definitions of clear and convincing evidence. Clear and convincing evidence means information that would persuade a reasonable person to have a firm belief that a proposition is more likely true than not true. It means evidence that is clear in the sense that it is not ambiguous, equivocal, or contradictory, and convincing in the sense that it is of such a credible, reliable, authentic, and relevant nature as to evoke confidence in the truth of it. Those come from lawinsider.com. I contend that I am absolutely following this with all the examples of puzzles that I have found in these videos. They are credible because they come from the texts themselves. They are reliable because the people putting these texts together are the compositors and editors and publishers. They are also the writers. They are authentic in that I'm using facsimiles of these documents and not modern reconstructions, where they change the letters, they change the typesetting, they change a lot of things just to suit modern standards. And they are absolutely relevant because each and every one of these examples refers to documents dealing with Shakespeare. There is one more thing to note about these puzzles. Each puzzle supports the others to create a complete picture that Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford, was Shakespeare. Thanks for watching. Stay safe.